Welcome to 11 Steps to Build Your Business in an Economic Crisis. Today we are joined by Juliet. Say hi, Juliet.
Hello.
We are so excited to have you with us. So Juliet, she is a certified business coach and partner of Action Coach Tampa Bay. She works with established, successful business owners to increase their profitability and free time by helping them build a business that works without the owner, because you don't want to do all the work as the owner. Action Coach spans over 88 countries with thousands of coaches worldwide, and she ranks in the top 25 globally as an employee business coach. So we're super excited to have her expertise here. Her secret to success is using failures as stepping stones to success and remembering that positive attitude is a choice. And I think that's really important right now with what we have going on. So welcome to the call.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tiffany. It's exciting to be able to be a positive light when a lot of this is going on. And I think it is true. I kind of wrote that before this happened, but it's something I consistently remind myself of every day. And especially when things are harder, is that it is a choice. So
yeah, and you can choose to be miserable or you can choose to be happy. I think happy is much better.
Yeah, you get a lot more done when you're choosing the positive side of things.
Yeah, I get it. Cool. So you got 11 steps to share with us to build your business in an economic crisis.
Yeah, and I also wanted to make this available to anyone who's watching this later, who ends up joining us. So I am going to throw, and I'll give it to you too, so you can put it in the post, but this is actually on our website, so you can follow, you kind of have a note skeleton to it. And I think the biggest thing is just taking notes more on what comes to mind, what are actions that you can take. Sometimes I find a lot of businesses still feel kind of stuck and don't know how to apply some of this, or just feel stuck because there's a lot of fear going on and uncertainty. So we are actually opening up a lot of pro bono hours of coaching. So if you want to take advantage of that, that's at the bottom of the page too, is signing up for a strategy session. So feel free to take us up on that. It's like no strings attached. We just want to help and support right now. It's truly the business owners getting into action that's going to make our economy come back faster. So it's really up to them to do something, and we're just here as a catalyst to help make that happen. Today is really about getting a game plan. You know, what are the 11 things you really could be doing? Some of them you might already be on top of. Awesome. Some things you haven't gotten to or didn't have a shift in perspective yet. So I'll start rolling through some of those, but that's really the intention and the perspective of that we're taking is get an action plan, get these into steps, you know, stop kind of binge watching on Netflix. So you have to zone out and you need to take bike rides and you need to relax. But at the same time, you need to be at work during the day, even if your phone's not ringing off the hook. There's a lot of things you can do proactively that's going to make you much more resilient, come out of this much stronger than everybody else. And there's going to be some opportunities and silver linings of this too. And so if you're not taking advantage of that, then you will be left behind for those who are. And we need you to. We need you to jump on this and really get our economy going again. It's you that will make that happen. So so hopefully that helps just to realize like why we're doing this. But the first step is communication. And it seems so kind of obvious at a time like this, but I'll tell you, because there is a lot of fear and uncertainty going on, people stop communicating and they internalize and they feel very alone, and we're literally isolating ourselves purposefully. And so that isolation creates a breakdown in communication, where this should be a time of overly communicating. So all the times when you were too busy to call somebody or follow up with someone, or even your own team. So I would start internally with your team, even if they are now kind of like temporary laid off team. You need to have a line of communication. So our clients are using like Slack or WhatsApp, or find a some of them have created private Facebook groups. So, find a source where you can keep them inspired, keep connected with them, check in with them on a human level, ask them how they're doing, share, unemployment resources. There's a grant that just came out from the city of St. Pete that is giving $500 to those who have been either reduced by 50% of their salary or have been unemployed. And so these are the kind of things you could be sharing, and positive quotes. Everyone's watching the news. You can be the communicator that's sharing other stuff that, what are the signs that we aren't getting back to work, or, this is a virus of gratitude and supporting each other, as well as another kind of virus. So, that's going to be up to you and your communication. And I think starting with your team, even if they're not part of your team right now, is a great place to start. Then start thinking about your customers. There's a lot of people that you just haven't been communicating with because you've just been taking orders and the market has been really strong. So this is a time definitely to show appreciation and, you know, who are kind of those top customers that have been keeping you going this whole time, and, you know, dig into your database, find out who you need to be contacting, maybe even past customers you've lost touch with. This is all a great time to do that. Don't be quiet on social media. You know, tell your customers, are you still open, is like a question everyone is asking. Like, are you open? Where do I find this?
Right.
You know, are you taking precautions? You know, build confidence. If you are, you need to tell them how you're taking precautions. What are you doing? Is your team wearing face masks if they're out in the field still? You know, are you bringing, you know, hand sanitizer? Like, what are you doing that's taking precautions? You need to be overly communicating that stuff. And we're going to be talking a little bit about why marketing is important right now too. So that's also a part of your communication. Also your suppliers and stakeholders, you know, you might need extra funding. So if you have investors, you should be proactively talking to them about how they're doing and what are they seeing, and, you know, understanding your numbers so you can have those conversations with them and see what's going on. Your suppliers, you have some negotiation power right now. So if you're not communicating with them, you might not be able to take advantage of some of that. Your suppliers are also going to know what's going on even before you do. They're going to see signs of things before you do that could affect you. So if you're not communicating with them, you're really missing out on the opportunity to find out, like, hey, we're really strong in this area, starting to see a shortage over here. That's going to allow you to be more flexible and weave in your business if you're still in operation. If you're not in operation, then they're feeling it too. And there might be some opportunities for you to renegotiate some terms, get better to come out of this, so that you'd have some wiggle room for making some pricing adjustments or anything you would need to do as you're getting back to business. Do that relationship building now. And I think it's important to know, like, when someone calls you during a crisis and just asks you how you're doing, you know, Tiffanie always talks about the how you doing call. But, you know, when you do that during a crisis, people remember that later because you were the person that called them when only their family and friends were really calling them. And now you're creating a much deeper relationship with them for the long term. And that's really what your intention is. It's just, unfortunately, we don't always think of calling on others when we're dealing with our own stuff. So, you know, get out of your own stuff, get out of your head and start thinking, who do I need to be talking to? I know I've been doing way more talking than I usually do, but that's what it's about. You know, these are your people. These are the ones that make your business work. And if you're not talking to them, then you're missing out on a really good opportunity to build a strong relationship with them. And probably the last thing is community. You know, what are you doing for the community? A lot of you are doing things and you're not even talking about them. So share that. That's inspiring. That gets people to work together. If you're doing donation work, like we're giving pro bono hours away. We're doing a lot of free webinars when we used to charge for them. We're doing a lot because we want to help the community even outside of our own people that have been supporting us. We want to support beyond that because together we are stronger. And that's really how our community is going to come back from this faster than any other community, is by us working together locally. So if you're doing stuff, you need to communicate it. So communication is a big one. I spend a little bit more time on that one because it is so important. And it's something we have control over, definitely, and we're not always using it to our advantage. So that's a big one. Number 2 is being positive. So we kind of started the call off on that. It's one of my favorites because it is like, even beyond this, it's something I actively work on. But, you know, people want to hear and see positivity, and it's not the main thing that is being shared because it doesn't sell ratings. It doesn't sell people, you know, looking at things. But when people hear it, it fuels them and it makes them want to be around you and help you and support you and do things with you. So, you know, how do you share that in your communication? We were just talking about, you know, what are other wins that you can be looking for to keep yourself positive? So it could be really simple things like, you know, someone shouting out to you and saying, I really appreciate you calling me, or I appreciate what you're doing for the community. You know, those little things, like, soak them in because that's how you stay positive. You need to turn off news and use it sparingly. You need to look for evidence that things are going in the right direction, or look at how people are banding together and supporting each other. You need to be sharing those stories. These are all the ways that you can really lead positivity with others. And I think, for your people, whether it's your customers or it's your team that's maybe even a furlough team, you need to lead them with positivity. And by you being a positive leader, other people are going to naturally fall behind you and want that leadership. And I think, again, this is such a great time to grow your leadership skills. And being positive is a skill that is needed in leadership, even outside of these times. But now is the time to really shine. If you can be positive when stuff is hitting the fan, that is an amazing sign that you are a strong leader and you're mentally able to find the opportunities even when others can't see it. So, panic is never going to help get things done. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It causes, separation. It's, it creates a lot of that, there's not enough for everyone, the scarcity mode. So putting yourself in a view of there's enough for everyone. How do we help each other? How do we make the best of this? What are the opportunities I'm not seeing right now that I need to open myself up to, and start sharing that perspective? And suddenly you'll see people, yourself and others around you, getting back to things, getting back to whether it's their to-do list at home or whether it's, a fitness goal that they weren't able to get on top of before, or, cooking or time with their family. I mean, there's so many things that are positive right now. And if you can really lead that, it'll be amazing how people will want to be with you in the long term. So that's a really good opportunity for you right now. If it's not kind of your natural way of being, or if it's fallen off because of what's going on, get back on that. That's a big one.
I think attitudes are contagious. And, if it's a positive attitude, that spreads. If it's a negative attitude, it spreads. And I'd much rather be in the positive side of things.
Exactly. And, sometimes it's harder. So I sometimes am every day looking for, what's another quote that is kind of talking about knowing where you can control things and where you can't, and where to focus your attention, and trying to share some of that. But we need more of that for sure right now, more than ever. Number 3 is more about knowing the cycles of the economy, period. Like there's some foundational cycles. Some of the businesses have a 1-year seasonal cycle. And so if you relate it kind of to a farmer going through seasons, the economy goes through seasons every 7 to 10 years. And so it's been over 10 years now since we've had a full season change.
Yep.
We've definitely seen summer. There has been an amazing boom time for us.
Yeah.
And there was actually some signs of fall starting already. And that's really where you start putting away reserves from the boom time. So when you've been collecting all this cash, that's where you start putting that away and prepping for winter, knowing that there's going to be some great deals in winter. That's where you can buy your machinery for really cheap. There's more people that you can acquire during that time than usual. That's where you repair things, kind of prepare your equipment, train your teams, do internal system work. There's just so much, there's more time during winter to kind of hone in that stuff when you're hunkered down. And so what this has done is put us into a winter time much faster. It's just accelerated it. But I think, some of the solace in knowing that is that what comes after winter is spring. So eventually we will get to a springtime again, and we will get out of this winter feeling and into a spring. And I think that's where you need aggressive action. That's where you start preparing the soil. And you have to really, if you don't get into that mode, then you are not going to have a booming summer, which is what comes next. And so even if we start saying, wow, this is really hard, and I wasn't prepared for this winter. Some of you weren't prepared for the last winter.
Right.
And that was a really hard, long winter, longer than we've seen in decades. So I think that this is just another nice lesson of, if you weren't prepared, you need to be prepared. When there's summer, you should know that there is going to be a fall and a winter coming.
Yeah.
And, and now we need to say, there is a spring coming. So if we do not prepare our marketing activities, if we don't do the communication we were just talking about, if we don't stay in touch with our team that we're going to need as we come back into a summer mode, if we don't keep those relationships strong, we will not have the strong summer that could be even better than the last summer. And so I think it's learning from the cycles, and we do forget because it's every 10 years, not every year, like a farm.
Right.
So a lot of businesses forget.
It's easy to get lulled into that. Oh no, everything's fine.
Yes. Yeah, and I think also businesses typically don't make it past 10 years, unfortunately. Some of the studies are pretty harsh. I've heard some that are as high as 96% do not make it past 10 years. And so some of them don't even know what they're up against. And some of the longer ones know, and they still forget and don't really prepare as well as they could. They kind of get excited and spend money on things. And, so I think it's a good perspective. I think it helps to know this is very cyclical, and this is how it happens in the economy, and it has that kind of trend to it. So learn the lesson that right now, some of the things we're going to talk about as far as like cutting back and being, hunkering down more and looking for the opportunities that come with that, but also knowing that spring is coming and you need to be more aggressive in your sales and marketing, because preparing for that is how you're going to be able to launch into preparing the soil, then others won't be prepared for. They'll still be kind of like, what just happened? And slow to come out of winter when they need to jump into spring. So some things to think about as far as like cycles. And then 4 is being ready for change, being open for change, loving change, embracing change. Not always what we necessarily jump into is, hey, let's break everything and rebuild it from the start. But some people are literally doing that. They're making face masks now. They're making hand sanitizer when they used to make beer. They've completely broken their system and turned it into something else. Some people are pivoting, smaller pivots. Some of them are pretty big pivots that they should have done a while ago, and it's going to help them coming out of this because they should have been doing it the whole time.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, it's just there needs to be change. Change is a positive thing, and this might be that catalyst that makes you realize, like, wow, I've been really stuck in my ways. I've been avoiding technology. I've been avoiding, working remote. I've heard so many stories of, the battle of two partners, and one's like finally getting the team to try it out when the other one was against it. And they're like, this is actually pretty cool and is working pretty well, and I've heard that several times. So I know it's going to have a lasting effect when people start seeing that and are able to experience things they weren't able to experience before. A lot of people are getting into online restaurant delivery service when they kind of avoided that, or your favorite Instacart. A lot of people are trying that now, where not everyone knew about it or would even try it because they just felt uncertain about, well, are they going to pick the right whatever. But now they're trying it. And so I think that this is starting to really shift for those who aren't fighting it, who are realizing this is not going to go away. This is only accelerated people's willingness to try things out. And now are going to stick with that in the future. I think that they're going to be ahead because that they're willing to change. So when we think about change, Action Coach actually has a great formula. So Action Coach, being a franchise, has so much good material. In fact, even these 11 steps came from the founder, who is in global business. He's got businesses all over the world. Action Coach is in over 88 countries. So, a lot of these are best practices we're seeing everywhere. It doesn't matter what business model you have or what country you're in. And this is another one of those foundational things of thinking about change. So the formula is taking dissatisfaction and multiplying that by vision. And those two together is a powerful force that starts to overcome resistance. So you can't just have dissatisfaction, which we have a lot of right now. There's a lot of dissatisfaction and people that are not happy with the current situation. If you just have that and you don't have a vision, that it's almost like hopelessness. As you're seeing a lot of that, just like stuck, what's the point? I'll just sit and watch, binge watch TV, like just hopelessness. Versus if you just had all vision and no dissatisfaction, you see that complacency, which is where we've been, which is, everything's great. Why would I fix it? Why would I do anything different? If it's not broken, don't fix it. Like I'm making tons of money. But you have to have both. That's how you keep in that change mode. Is you have to find ways to create the satisfaction, and then you have to build vision. So we definitely need that vision right now. You're still ramping up the satisfaction. You should still be, putting some pressure on knowing your numbers and knowing what's really going on and knowing, if you're even making money on things, but creating more vision for people right now kind of goes back to the positivity, but also just where are we going? What's the company going to look like when we come out of this? And how is this going to be a positive thing for everyone? And, how do we envision bringing our team back on? Can get a new vision for yourself first, and then start communicating that. And all of a sudden you'll see you wanting to be in that momentum period. So, thinking about your products and services, how are those going to change, and how will those look coming out of this? How will your relationships with your database change coming out of this, that maybe you regret you have not been doing very well? How will your staff look like coming out of this? How might your delivery look different coming out of this? And start creating that vision, because when you have dissatisfaction and vision, and then the last piece of it is a first step. So first step for us is usually like an action or something you can do, keeping it simple, making it easy. It's kind of like if you want to start a habit of running in the morning, put the shoes by your bed, make it as easy as the first step as you can.
Yeah.
But it's the same kind of idea, is that you're trying to make it easy for yourself to change. And the only other thing you can do is reduce the resistance. You're always going to meet some resistance to change. It's just part of that. It's just part of change, is it has resistance.
Yeah.
But, if you can really work on that dissatisfaction and the vision, and then creating first steps, you'll see a lot of momentum in overcoming change. So hopefully that's helpful in thinking about, how do you get yourself unstuck first, but then getting others unstuck by creating that vision. And in times where things are better, like a summer, making sure that you're creating dissatisfaction so that you don't get complacent,
Right.
and you are truly profitable and can store some of that profit for fall and winter. And there's just some opportunities right now to really shake things up in your business. And you have the time to do it. You have the know-how. You're kind of seeing what people are open to that they weren't open to before. So use this as an opportunity to really shift and make some change happen.
Cool.
5 is cutting back and increasing cash. We've already seen that happening. I think in the beginning, I did some interviews where people really weren't thinking about this yet. They were still kind of like unsure what to do. A lot of businesses have started to work through, do I lay people off and they go collect unemployment? There has been some funding added to unemployment, so it's not the usual like under $300 a week. But there's also some issues that have been going on with that system, where it's overlogged with people.
Yeah.
But there is going to be some of this, like, what are things you've been paying for that you haven't even been using? Have you really gone through and gotten things requoted? We have some great referral sources for like insurance, and you go and look at your mobile phone provider, even your internet service. Have you gotten any of that requoted while you were just so busy and were willing to pay whatever the bill was?
Right.
Why not? So, now's the time to really know what your numbers are. You should have had a budget this whole time, but you really need one now. And by you learning it, you can teach your staff how to do a personal budget, because you need a personal budget too. So if you can lower expenses all around, then you're going to come out of this much more profitable when things come back. This is something you should have been doing, but now it's really forcing you to seriously sit down and look at it. So where can you cut back? Where can you create more cash? Cash is always the king. It's like the gas in your car. You're not going to get far if you run out of it. It's just, it's the way it is. And you need to have measures on it, just like we have, if I didn't have the countdown by miles on gas on my car, I would definitely be on the side of the road, because I wait till the last minute. I'm too busy all the time to get gas. So it's kind of, cash is the same thing in a business, and we're always like too busy to track it or to figure out where we're going to get more if we're running low.
Right.
And so now is the time to really still focus on that. You're still seeing, now the banks are inundated with the SBA, but before that, they really weren't busy. They were still doing lines of credit. They were still very much able to help, and they will be once we kind of get past this SBA. But that's some opportunities, is to look at SBA. They're decent interest. I mean, it is still taking out a loan, but it is decent interest rates, and you don't have to qualify as much as you do for other loans. And so if you had some issues getting funding before, some of the loans that have been coming out could be open to you where you weren't able to get it before. So there's some opportunities to get some cash. It is better to have it even if you don't use it than if you don't and you can't get it later, it's gone. So it's just some things to think about. Reducing anywhere you can. We talked about renegotiating our contracts now. using some of this as an opportunity, whether it's your leases or your vendors, or and it's going to put you in a stronger position if you do all that now. But you still need to keep marketing and selling going, actually stronger than ever. Yeah. So that is not the place to cut. You can be more efficient with it. I think that's an insight that a lot should have been doing and weren't doing. They were just throwing money at marketing or throwing their time into marketing and weren't really looking at what's actually working, what's bringing it in, what do I need to stop doing so I could start doing something else. There are some new opportunities in marketing that are presenting themselves. I'm actually doing, I know you know Jen Posick.
Yep.
But I'm doing Facebook Live with her on Friday at 10 a.m. How do you really use your existing database in a Facebook ad? You know, there's a lot of faces on Facebook right now.
Yes.
People are sucked into that thing more than ever, and you know, they always are, but they are even more now. And ads are actually cheaper than they have been. The combination of people backing out of marketing spend and also more eyes on it. So, you know, there's some opportunities out there that if you haven't really jumped on them or you've been unsure or unconfident about it, you could be really missing out on putting yourself in a strong position coming out of this. So cutting back and looking at how do you get more cash is really important right now. 6 is extending credit lines, which we kind of touched on, but being more proactive in there because you don't want, you know, the banks to turn into the grocery stores where everyone else has gotten there before you and now the basic essentials are not available. So I think, you know, how do you start getting more proactive with that so that you truly can figure out, do you need to refinance? There's some low interest rates right now that you can definitely find. There's money still being lended. You can apply for the funding. There are some grants that, you know, there is some money that is forgivable with the payroll protection plan. The city of St. Pete did a fighting chance grant that gives $5,000 to certain qualifying business in St. Pete. So there are some other smaller local grants too that you should be looking into. I've seen some Facebook groups being formed for business owners. One in St. Pete is St. Pete Small Business Owners. So you have to be a business owner to join it, but there's a lot of collaboration going on and shared resources. So, you know, again, communication is really important right now because that's how you find out what's going on. How do you put yourself in the best position? We've been working like crazy with our clients to help them through all of this and to figure it all out. And they fortunately know their numbers. A lot of them had some cash resource because we've been coaching them. But if you weren't in that position, you can get yourself there. You just need to start getting the game plan together and start working on it. So what could you do? Even calling your credit cards and seeing if you can get the lines extended. So that's going to be a way higher interest rate, but it's better to have stuff in place than to try to scramble for it later. And then everybody's trying to get it, which we've seen with some of these financial loans.
Right.
Number 7 is staffing cuts and changes. That's already started. You know, but you gotta be flexible. Again, that's why communication is going to be really important. With that change happening, it also is presenting an opportunity in the market. So there's more people available to hire than there were before. So we're seeing some of those shifts happening. So if you're a business that is still essential and operating, you should be actively recruiting right now because you have some opportunities. Even if some essential businesses have decided to not be in business and so their employees are not getting paid and they might be looking for work. And so it's an opportunity to shine and show why your company is better. If you've been working on your culture, which you should have been working on, you know, how are you different as a working environment than other working environments? You have the opportunity to really attract some top talent right now that was really not willing to change and was just kind of stuck in their routine that has been forced out of that and would be more open to joining you. So there is some opportunity there. On the other side, if you're shut down and you're non-essential and you're not able to bring in money right now, it's hard. It is hard to say, you know, these are the people that made me successful and now I can't support them. Some of the payroll protection plan is offering some help with that. But we don't know how quickly the money is going to come. We don't know, you know, it's still, you know, waiting on a process that's been a little challenging over the last couple of days. So you have to still make decisions on what staff you truly need to keep working, what staff, do you really not see yourself needing, unfortunately. But we don't know how quickly and fast spring is going to come out of this and how quickly back we'll get to summer. And so, sometimes it's better to survive the business and make some tough calls than always feeling like I can't do that. I have to hold on to everyone. I think we've all figured out this is not a fast moving process. This is something that's going to take some time. And so unfortunately that might mean that you need to make some tough calls. Again, I'm seeing some benefits to this. Some businesses have been holding on to employees that were not really top producers, and they should have made some of these
now's a good time to get moving.
Yeah, they should have been making some of these hard calls earlier and are kind of realizing that at this moment. So, it's also an opportunity to build your confidence as a leader. And how do you have these conversations in a supportive, let them leave with their ego and their dignity intact. And how do you do that kind of stuff? And, do you have some policies in place to make sure that it's not discriminatory? And how do you keep it consistent? And do you have those systems in place? Because I know the HR consultants that I know are very busy right now, talking through all that. And how do you document things properly? How do you have these conversations in a very positive way? How do you say things without leading them on that you'll be bringing them back, because there is some regulation attached to things. So, if you need referrals for that, or you don't know how to handle things, I know that Tiffanie and I both have great relationships in the community. You should be talking to advisors. A lot of them are doing just giving free advice or charging for just what you're using right now. So a lot of us are being very flexible in helping the community. Don't just not ask for advice because you're afraid you can't afford it. First ask and then find out if someone can help you. Because some of these could be issues later that you have to deal with if you don't deal with them appropriately right now. And then I think one thing that's really great thing to think about is helping them. So even if you lay people off, you can still help them get the unemployment resources. You can help them by, even when you lay them off, they're saying to put in the letter that it was due to COVID-19 if you feel like that's why you're letting them go, so that it's easier for them to file. Teach them the personal budgeting so that they can also eliminate wasted spend that they're not really using in their home, because we all sign up for subscriptions and things that we're not using. We don't requote things, and you have some of those resources as business owners where they can get their insurance requoted or get things looked at and negotiate down. Look into mortgage foreloading and lease negotiation. So, help them do some of that so that they're more stable to come back to you and will stay more loyal to you, because again, there's an opportunity to recruit people away. Right. So if you're wanting to bring these people back when you get strong again, you really want to put effort into communicating and helping them right now, so that they do stay more loyal to you and your culture, and that they can create a stable base as they keep going, so that they'll want to stick with you in the long term. So something to think about. Step 8 is plan to work from home. Okay, so now that has happened. We're all pretty much working from home. Again, it's created some great opportunities where they might not have been there before. So, you had to work through, what does the technology need to look like, and how do I do this? And, I looked up a couple weeks ago, ordering a green screen. It was going to be like 4 weeks or something. And most of the inexpensive ones are sold out. And I know everyone's been having fun with backgrounds and all kinds. I mean, it's crazy how some of that market has just exploded. Zoom, I think, went from 200 million to 600 million in a week. It's just insane. So it's already started to happen where there's no longer really planning to work from home. You are working from home now. But I think, there's still some work you could be doing to get more automated and from home. So have you figured out, deposits to your bank that are remote? Have you figured out how to mail things while being remote? These are all things. How do you communicate being remote? We mentioned some things in the beginning of how you can put tools in place for that. Are you still keeping your meetings going even though you're not in an office setting or in your building? So those should not be falling off. We talked about communication, why it's so important. So keeping that going. Did you have a desktop QuickBooks in your office? And so how do you get that moved to online so you can work remotely, or did you have remote access? So how do you keep reporting going while you're remote? So I think it's showing us why it's so important to think about this stuff, where not a lot of businesses were thinking about it before necessarily. Absolutely. And just being more mobile friendly and more flexible when it comes to that, taking on technology. And so at the same time, are you making it easy for your customers to buy from you remote from home? Are you making it easy for them to get your services while they're working from home? So that kind of leads into step number 9, which is, how do you think more online and delivery options?
Okay.
I've seen some businesses get very creative. You even see like the auto repair shops are coming and doing oil changes at your house, or they're willing to come pick up your car and bring it back. It's up to you to figure out, how are you going to keep this thing going? The gym is giving out their workout equipment, because you can't buy workout equipment anymore. Apparently it's completely sold out because everyone now wants their equipment at home, and they didn't want to miss out on their habit. So the gyms are, loaning it out as a way to keep them paying their memberships. So that's pretty creative. They're doing online training and online classes and online personal training. And, we went all to webinars, which has really been an eye-opener to how many people can connect with us now, and still bringing on clients, even though it's through Zoom, because a lot of businesses right now are realizing like, this is a great time to work on my business, and I should have been doing it before, but I wasn't. So now I need to really get on it so that I'm prepared for what's coming. But it was a shift for us to do that even. And it took us figuring it out and working through it and communicating that and getting it out there and setting it all up. But, it goes to show like anyone can do this. I've seen restaurants that should have had online menus, should have had options to order ahead, that are streamlining all of this so that when they come out of this, they're much more efficient. Some of them are adding on other things from their suppliers. So I interviewed a restaurant in St. Pete that added, fresh cut chicken breast that was cheaper than the grocery store said you couldn't find it. They added toilet paper and other things that were hard to get because they were able to get it from the restaurant supplier easily, because Publix was just getting inundated first thing and they couldn't restock fast enough for that day. So, there's some real opportunities for you to think like, how do I resort how I bring this to my customers? Because it's not going to go away. People still want fast and convenient. We're in the world of Amazon, and that Amazon effect is just getting stronger. It's not going away. No. So some of you have figured out, wow, I should have been doing this a long time ago, and maybe you're not seeing the profit from it yet. But when we come back, you definitely will see the profit of your efforts of getting that out there and communicating it with your database and them knowing that that's in place and making it easier for people. So, also be thinking, how could you package things right now? How could you make it easier for people to buy things even if they can't do business with you? So if they can buy things online that they can use later, and there's some kind of package deal or something going on with that, prepaid accounts or, loyalty programs that they can buy into and use for the remainder of the year, and you kind of roll over the months that they've missed. Get creative. There's some opportunities for people to buy things from you. We do gift card promotions, for Christmas time. Do gift card promotions now. Yeah. Start thinking, what are things that people can buy online or you can deliver that you could start getting into that you weren't into before in your business. And that's how you can start creating things that people will literally buy from you right now. Yeah. And you want to do it now because we're not into like complete winter where people have zero cash. It's starting a little, but we're still in an adjustment period where businesses are making money and people are still spending money because they still see like, we're going to come out of this. If it lasts longer, it could get to more of a dry winter where people hoard cash and don't really spend anything. So you want to get on this stuff like now, and then that's going to be there for spring so that you can come back out and really re-communicate that and let people know that you have it in place and you've been working kind of behind the scenes on it. Number 10 we've been talking about is marketing and sales. That is something that should increase, not decrease. Yeah. You want to be smart about where you're putting your money and time, but it doesn't mean you just stop doing it. It means you get more specific. So if your business has been 90% referral, I hear that a lot. I'm sure you do too, because the work that you're in, yep. 90% of my business comes from referrals. Okay, well, this is a time to get a little more specific. Who are the 5 people that all your referrals come from? Is not going to be broken now because they're out of business or their business has shifted so much that train of referrals you were getting in. So how do you get them in go mode, get them to something like this or share something like this with them so that they get an action plan and get their business humming? Because you have to realize that other people's businesses getting slow or them hiding out could be gravely affecting your business. And so if you're not that leader out there sharing this information, huddling with them, we've been helping clients get like some of their main providers of business in discussions to really work on all of their action plans, because we know that our clients are going to be affected by those secondary or third relationships if they don't lead them into moving forward. It's an ecosystem. And if you don't help your ecosystem along with yourself, your business will suffer and it won't come out stronger on the other side. So this is an opportunity to really ramp all that up. Even if you're a word of mouth business, it's even more important. There's a lot of opportunities to get online reviews right now. And because everyone is on Facebook and on the internet searching for things, work on your testimonials. People can do video testimonials just like this. Get video testimonials right now. Get people to go on and do reviews where before they were so busy that they never followed through on it. Get the feedback, get people to get active with what you're doing, write more content than you were before. If you have time, then it can no longer be an excuse that you don't have active content ready for when you come out of this and that you're overly communicating right now. So be building it now so that later you're the first one on the gate when it's time to plant the soil. Is like you are there and it's being planted heavily while others are scrambling to get that stuff together. Sales efforts should be overly communicating. So anyone who you had estimates out to, you should be calling anyone that you've done an estimate for. And if you have to negotiate the deal, make it happen. Like get it locked in now. Get cash up front. That's another big one. Some businesses did not have good practices and are realizing, wasn't smart that I was the bank. And now the bank, cash is king, and I'm the bank holding people without their cash. Yeah. And I paid others before. So change that in your business. Get money up front. Even if you have to take money up front and negotiate to 15 days, at least you're not starting at 30 days and it's getting pushed to 55, sometimes 60 or 90. You're starting at 0 and you can negotiate from there. But most people will pay what you tell them to do. And so if you ask for it up front, or at least to cover your costs up front, they're going to pay it. Most people will. And I think that's always a surprise for our clients is like, wow, no one really said anything. They're all paying. I'm like, isn't it magical? Like, how's your bank account doing? So much better. Because I can actually pay my costs associated with it. And so stop bank loaning and start collecting cash up front. Creating new offers or new rates. You might need to have like a special Corona rate right now. Like I mentioned, all of our trainings have gone to 0 because that's where, we need to get it out there. We need to be helping more people. And so figure out like maybe your rate isn't 0, but there's a reduced rate, especially if you renegotiate with your suppliers. You could do some creative things. There might be some things that are on sale or are better margin in your industry right now. And so pushing those because you know that you could reduce them and still make a high margin on it because they're at a reduced rate. So figure out, what can you do to really get your marketing message changed? You should not be saying the same things you were saying. This is, we're in fall to winter. That's a different message than summer. And so you need to realize that your customers' minds are somewhere else. You need to change to be adjusting to that. And so you're getting your landscaping done because you are stuck hanging out in your yard all day. Like that's what you should be talking to, not, let's make it pretty. Like it's the functionality of why we're doing these things. You need to be talking about in your marketing. You need to have strong offers that connect to that need right now. And then realizing we talk about something called the 5 ways in action coach, something else that you can learn about. We're actually doing a webinar every single week called Building a Resilient Business. So we talk about the 5 ways in that. We even give out strategies around the 5 ways. But the 5 ways is how do you maximize profit in a business? And one of the 5 is marketing, which is what everyone focuses on. It's social media, it's newsletters, it's billboards, it's your website, it's all the, the stuff that people talk about and call you and sell you on. And, it's one of them. It's one, but there are 4 others that maximize profit. And it's actually them working together creates the compound effect. So when you increase each of the 5 ways by 10%, it creates a 61% growth in profit.
Awesome.
Which sounds crazy, but no matter how you plug in the numbers, no matter what size business you are, it always comes out the same because of how they interact with each other.
Gotcha.
So one of the other ones is sales. And right now, that's one of the ones I see that people just don't spend time on, and it's relatively free. So, you know, are you listening to sales books right now and learning how to really tweak how you're doing your sales process? Some clients are putting in a CRM where they didn't have one before, and they didn't have a customer relationship management tool at all. They didn't even have a sales process put in, some of these newer businesses that we're working with. So sales is a great place to start working. If you've been competing on price, that needs to change. You need to know how to have a different conversation, because if you don't know how to change that conversation, it will always be about price.
Right.
You know, when we call a plumber, Tiffanie, we don't know what to ask. We just ask, you know, how much is going to be and how quickly can you get here? Like, I don't know what else to say.
Right.
So if that plumber doesn't ask me questions and help me understand why he's different from the next guy on Google, I don't know what the difference is. He needs to teach me that. And I think we need to realize as business owners, that's what we need to know how to teach people is what is the value over price. And now is a great time to work on that. You are not going to have as many leads as you did before. It's just the fact of winter, and we're going into winter. So your conversion needs to be stronger so you don't need as many, that you're able to convert more of them. So working on that is really important. And then we're moving into step 11, which actually talks about this, but you know, your existing database is a gold mine. It always has been, and you haven't been looking at it that way. Everyone gets pulled into the new shiny customer, the new one, and forget about the people that already know you, like you, and trust you, and already get what you do. You paid a lot of money to train them on what you do. So you have to communicate with them. So the other two in those other 4 are, you know, how to get them to come back more often. So what are your methods of communicating with your database? One of the reasons we're doing the Facebook ad on Friday, live on Facebook, is that's one mode of communicating with your existing database is email or Facebook ads, or calling them is something we talked about. But if you're not talking to them, they're not coming back as consistently as they could.
Yeah.
And that's just the fact. If you don't talk to them, if you don't have like a product of the week, or, you know, this is an example of work that we do. That's when people go to other people and say, oh, I didn't know you did that. I bought that from someone else, which is like the cringe moment of every business owner is like, how did you not know that we do that? But then it kind of wears off and you go, dang, I really need to communicate better. If they didn't know that, that's on me. Like, that's my job as a business owner, is that they hear from me enough that they know what we do. So now is a great time to ramp up that kind of communication and get that database cleaned up if you haven't. The other piece of that puzzle is how much they buy when they come to you. You think of like the great example of McDonald's is, you want fries with that? I mean, a simple question that a 16-year-old who doesn't make their bed every day can ask and make a company add billions to the bottom line, because it was a high margin item. It was easy to ask. But in your business, you should be asking a question like, do you want X with that? Do you have this in place? And even if it's a no, not now, you could be scheduling that service for the future when they think they'll be ready for it. These are things that businesses aren't maximizing yet. And again, because you're going after new shiny, that is not profitable sometimes yet. Your new shiny customer in their first purchase hasn't paid for all the time and marketing you put into that.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take them coming back and buying again. And when they come back, buying more for you to truly make profit on it. So it's really important now than ever to start working on that. And again, it's why we talk about it in that Building Resilient Business webinar, is because it's so critical, especially right now, to get clear on that. And then the last one, which should be the first one you work on, is your margin. And it's some of the stuff we talked about, re-looking at your supply lines, renegotiating, understanding which margin is higher on which service or product so that you can sell more of those right now, and really knowing like what are the things that make you money, or what are things you need to stop selling because they're so slim. And if you have to discount it all, you're basically losing money on that. So if you don't know those numbers, your customers will not know them, and they could drive you out of business and drive you out of cash without either of you ever knowing it. And you're just giving 10% discounts without realizing the effect of that overall. Yeah. So these 5 ways is something that you should really be up on. We have videos on it too, so you can learn about it without even coming to that webinar, but reach out to us, learn more about that stuff, because it's going to make a really big difference coming out of this. And then the last one, which I alluded to, step 11, is focusing on repeat business. So an easy place to start with this is for you to think, who are my best customers? And your best customers, a great definition of that is kind of the 80-20 rule. Who are the 20% that are giving you 80% of your business? Because there is that smaller amount of pool of your customers that are really contributing the biggest lion's share of your revenue. And so by you knowing just that smaller group, that's where you need to start. Those are the ones you want to keep loyal. Those are the ones that you need to build a relationship with right now. Just check in and be a human and just ask them how they're doing. What could you do? What could your company provide that they can't get anywhere else? That's how restaurants are figuring out we need to go get chicken or we need to go get toilet paper, is because they're interacting with their customers and hearing it. Even adding like desserts right now or things that people want. Like, what is it that would be helpful for them or would create some positivity for them? I've seen some businesses doing some really small things like a handwritten note. So if your group of 20% is small, everyone's at home like checking their mail like crazy. So what if you did something for them, or you did a special promotion just for them? Like, just for you guys, if you buy this now, you get this awesome thing later when we get back together. And so they're able to support you, and at the same time, they're able to get something really cool and exclusive just for them as a thank you. And so get really creative with this. They're also going to want to help you. So know before you call them what you want them to do. So we've been working on that with clients. Some of them are just focused solely on online reviews, and that's what they're asking for when they're talking to them. And then they have a follow-up email or something they can send them with the direct links. But know in advance, like, do you want them to buy gift cards from you? Do you have a special promotion that is special just for them that you're talking to them about? What is it that they can do? Because they're your best customers, are going to want to help you. And so knowing what they can do right now, and communicating not only helps you, but it helps them stay connected with you. It's the science is like 69% of people leave because of perceived indifference. So the majority of customers that leave a business are because they think you won't notice that they left. And you think about the impact on that in a business right now, that's huge. You guys are already losing business just because, I lost my job, or I'm so sorry, I can't do it. But you don't want to lose more just because they haven't heard from you. So a lot of you are still using old baggage of, I don't want to spam people, I don't want to, bother them. Don't do that. So you're not going to spam them and you're not going to bother them. So just remove that from your mindset and start thinking about, what can I do to add, positive light in their life right now, something of value to them right now, knowing I have their back and it's going to be okay, build a relationship right now. Get focused on what you can do and get that out of your mind, because that's going to hold you back from creating something very powerful that you need to create right now. Because your customers that have been very loyal to you and have really created your whole business in addition to your staff, you need to be grateful and you need to talk to them and they need to hear from you. So that's a big one, and that should be a big part of your shift in your marketing and sales too. And then the last one on there's a bonus 12 step, but just kind of use common sense, be compassionate right now. Teach this to your clients too, or your team too, because people will have shorter fuses right now. It'll feel like everyone's complaining about things, or frustrated about things, and teach your employees that's just, that's where people are at. They're stressed out. They're in fear mode. If they don't see you, wear your mask and wash your hands, and they might come down on you. And you need to be prepared to talk about what you're doing to respect other people, not, maintaining the 6-foot rule. And you need to be respectful of the fact that that's where we're at, and that's what you need to be doing too. And you need to teach your team that, so that they're representing you in the community that way, and being patient with people. People are in fear mode. And so by you being that chill, nice, positive light, it's going to make a lot of difference. And, if I can leave you with one thing, it's go get an action plan, take your notes from today, get them into an action plan. If you want some support and guidance, reach out to us. There are no strings attached to it. We just want to be supportive right now, and or check into some of the webinars that we're doing. But if nothing else, you need to plan for what's happening, not panic. The panic is going to keep you stuck. A plan is going to get you in go mode, and that's going to give you a much stronger position coming out of this.
So how do we reach out? How do we find out about the upcoming webinars? How do we find you? What's the best ways to find that?
Yeah, so our website is probably the best place to go for everything. The link that I shared with you, which you could put on this post when you reshare the video, it's actioncoach.com/business/crisis plan. So it's a blog on our website. So if you also go to the blog, you'll see it. But in that page, there's a link to our event calendar on the website, which has the webinars. And then also on that page, there's a link to strategize with us. And there's just a form you fill out and we follow up with you to schedule. So it makes it easy.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else that you have for us?
No, I think that's...
We got a lot going on now. I've got all kinds of notes over here.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just getting things moving is the biggest thing. So, typically, like if there's people participating in a webinar, I'll ask for like what they were getting because it's helpful. So maybe I'll ask you, since you have some notes, like, what are some things? Because I think that the more we share with each other, the more we actually lock that in. And I've seen so many businesses by sharing like, oh, I thought of this, or I thought of this, or you reminded me of that they also get triggered and go, oh, I must have missed that when I was like thinking about something as she was talking about something else. And so it helps everyone kind of lock in those learnings. So if there are people on here right now live with us, like they could comment, but also I'd love to hear like what you were thinking.
Yeah. So, I've got, I do need to talk to Jen about Facebook Live too. I was like, oh yeah. I mean, Facebook ads. I've got a newsletter that I send out, but we also send out a company newsletter. And I'm like, oh, we've got some other stuff going on. We can do additional, like I'm sending out mine, but I need to send it out from there as well. I have money for people, but I don't remember why I wrote that down. Don't you hate that when you're like, okay, let me take it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what did I mean by that? So hopefully it'll come to me. So those are a couple of my things that I have down. Plus, I've been working on online reviews. I actually started a Facebook challenge for people to do reviews, and so I like the idea of just getting more people to do that, because to me this is the time for us to create the social proof. And I love the idea, even if you just do a Zoom really quick and record it, you can have your video testimonial that maybe you hadn't before.
Yep. Yeah. And it's powerful because people are in the midst of things right now. So by hearing from you right now that you're still like very loyal and appreciative, like it's what people really want to see. It's just not being shared enough. So yeah, it is really powerful. Cool. Stuff. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's awesome. So unless you have any other questions for me, I think that's pretty much it.
I think we're good to go. Thank you so very much. We appreciate you sharing with us the 12, though I really want a 13th because that's my number. But I'm like, oh, she got to 12, so close. Thank you so much.
Well, 13 is get the plan, right?
Get the plan. There you go. Our 13 steps for your business. So thank you so very much, Julia, for being able to help us out with all of this. We are so appreciative, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, Tiffanie. Bye.